If you have not read any of his books, you probably have met someone who has done so, or you have probably watched one of the movies adapted from his books. I'm a big fan of this man, and if you enjoy thrillers or mystery novels, you will likely be a fan too. James Patterson is one of the world's most successful and celebrated novelists. He has created many enduring fictional characters and series, including Alex Cross, the Women's Murder Club, Michael Bennett, and Maximum Ride, among others. His books have sold more than 300 million copies, and he was the first person to sell 1 million ebooks. In 2016, Patterson topped Forbes' list of highest paid authors for the third consecutive year. His total income over a decade is believed to be estimated at about $700 million. One interesting thing about James Patterson is that his writing career is characterized by a single mission: to prove that there is no such thing as a person who doesn't like to read. Only people who haven't found the right book. I agree with that. Sometime in his career as a writer, he evolved into becoming a philanthropist. He has given over 3 million books to school children and the military in the United States of America. He's donated more than $70 million to support education and endowed over 5,000 college scholarships for teachers. We met him in Dallas, Texas, USA. The three girls who won our last Channels Book Prize for Literature had an unforgettable time with him.
Did the assassination happen here?
Yes. I just finished a book, The House of Kennedys, and it goes through all of the tragedies, one after the other.
What was the research like? How did you research it?
Well, so much has been written, for starters, and then interviews. So, just so much has been written.
After then, I had a few minutes to interview him on his writing and things related. Enjoy this. Mr. Patterson, it's an honor to be with you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I haven't been in Nigeria, but now I'm in Nigeria in this interview.
Yes, you are. You're going to be watched by millions of Nigerians.
Excellent.
Okay. I've always been eager to ask you this. What has been the single most important motivation or inspiration for you as a writer over the years?
Somebody said you're lucky if you find something in life that you like to do. Then it's a miracle if somebody will pay you to do that. And that's what happened with me. I wasn't a big reader as a kid, and I worked my way through college at a hospital, and I had a lot of night shifts, so I read and read and read, and I loved it. And then I started scribbling stories, and I loved it. And if you find something that you love, it's hard to walk away from it. And then I got encouragement in college, and I was very lucky because the first book that I wrote, it got turned down by 31 publishers. Okay. Then it won the Mystery Writers Award as the best first mystery in the country. So, I don't know what that means, but I guess the experts in the publishing houses were wrong.
Okay. When you wrote that novel, the Thomas Berryman number,
Yeah.
did you think many years down the line
That I was going to be big like this?
200 novels, over 300 million
No.
copies sold?
Yeah.
Did you dream that?
Yeah. When I, for the award show, for the mystery for the Thomas Berryman number, when it won this award, and I remember standing up in front of these people and saying, I guess I'm a writer now. And that was the first time that I really thought, you know what, I've published this book and it won this award, so I must be a writer. I felt like I'd been authenticated. I was a legitimate writer then. But I had no idea, and actually the next book that I wrote was terrible. It did get published. It was awful, though. I advise no one to read that book. And eventually I kept getting better and better and better. I was lucky the first time, and then I made a few missteps. And then I didn't really have a bestseller until I was 40. So I went from 26 to 40,
At what point in time did you feel, I know writers struggle with that self-confidence issue.
Yeah.
Whether they're good enough or not. It's a question they keep asking for a long time.
No, confidence is huge. I remember when we were on the movie set for Kiss the Girls and Morgan Freeman played Alex Cross, and you watch Morgan do a scene and he's so confident. And he was that way when he was on Sesame Street, and he just has confidence, and that separates everything. I used to be, when I was younger, I remember when I first got hired in advertising, the person that hired me said that I was the shyest person he ever interviewed. And now I don't shut up, but I have confidence. I have more confidence.
What's your crime fiction story? Why did you go into crime fiction with Alex Cross and the rest?
As a young writer, I felt that I had some talent. I didn't particularly want to write small novels for colleges, that kind of, academic novels, literary novels. I didn't particularly want to write for that audience. And but I was a little bit of a snob in terms of my tastes. And then somewhere in there, I read a couple of novels, Day of the Jackal and The Exorcist, and I went, ooh, these are interesting, and I think I can write at this level. So I just started writing crime novels. Now I write some nonfiction. I just finished a book on the Kennedys, and I read a lot of kids' books. Kwame Alexander, who's a very good prize-winning African-American writer, he and I just wrote a book about Cassius Clay, meaning when he was a kid in Louisville, when he was still called Cassius Clay. So we just wrote a book about him, which is it was a great experience.
I remember looking for your novels in some bookshops in Nigeria, and I was told that they had run out of copies of your books. Any more copies of the novels, but we have the children's books available in the stores. And all that. So, what inspired you to go into writing for children?
I think so. My wife and I had a son relatively late. I was 50, she was 40, and he wasn't a big reader. He's a very bright kid, but he wasn't a big reader initially. And I just thought a lot of the books that they were using in school were not that stimulating to a lot of kids. Oh. So I wanted to write books, and I have actually an imprint at Little Brown for Children. And our mission is, it's a simple one, but I think it's pretty smart. When a kid finishes one of our Jimmy, it's called Jimmy the Imprint. When a kid finishes a Jimmy book, the kid will say, please give me another book. As opposed to, I don't really like to read. So we write books that motivate the kids, that are stimulating to the kids, and when they get done, they say, I want to read another book.
Back in Nigeria, we have this thing going on about reading culture. You've spent a lot of resources, you put in a lot of resources, a lot of investments into promoting a reading culture. What's the story behind that?
It's weakened here. It has been better in the past here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but the thing is, they did in terms of kids reading here. They've done some testing where, like in 2 states, Indiana and California, they decide on how many prison cells will be needed in the future based on 3rd grade reading levels.
Oh.
So they found that if kids can't, and when I'll go to, this is an interesting thing, I go to prison sometimes and visit and talk to, and you go down these, it's mostly young men, and most of them are big readers now, because they're in their cells, they don't have any, that's one of the few things that they can do in their cells. Had they learned to be good readers when they were younger, a lot of them wouldn't be there, because they would have had more alternatives in life. I mean, that's the thing about it. If you can't read, relatively well, the possibilities in life are diminished. They shrink. You can't do as many things. You don't have as many options.
You've really done great as a writer over the many years. But if you were to go back a few decades, age 35, what would you do differently 35.
I'd like to.
35.
I'm there. I'm with you. Yeah.
If we were to
Can
go
you
back
arrange
to,
that?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
If we were to go back to 35
Yeah.
right now, what are the 3 most important things you would
No.
focus on?
I don't.
Sorry.
I don't think it would change anything. I think I understood things at 35 that I understand now. I mean, I'm luckier now. I have more things that have worked. I might have become a better writer a little earlier if I knew, what I know now. I've tried to live a relatively ethical life. So I don't think I would change a lot.
Would you write the same things? Would you write differently? Or will you be...
Maybe. I don't know. I really thought about it because I never had that opportunity to be 35 again. But now that I have it, I'm going to be thinking about it a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Patterson.
you.
Thanks for your time.
Nice interview.
Thank you very much.